What is up, friendos? It's Utashio here, or Steven, depending on your pronunciation. And this video will be my complete Ushabti item guide. I will talk about what the Ushabti does, where it is, how it can be used, and most importantly, how to know which Ushabti hatches the special mount Qilin. I've heard a lot of stories about people not knowing which color of Ushabti corresponds with the material descriptions in the Tablet of Destiny, so I want to provide a clear explanation and a helpful visual to ensure that you never pick up the wrong Ushabti ever again. But before we jump right into it, I want to quickly let everybody know that I have set up a Discord server called Utashio's Party House for everybody to join. Anybody who follows me, anybody who supports me, or anything like that. I've actually set up a Discord now just dedicated to this channel and people hanging out, getting together, making friends, playing games. It's gonna be awesome. There's a link in the description rather down below that you can click on to get invited to the channel, and it's gonna be great. Just letting everybody know that that's up and running now. It's a bit rough around the edges at the moment. I'm still working on it. I'm not all that proficient with Discord servers and stuff like that, but I wanted to give everybody a place to come hang out, play games, chat, make friends, and support me further if you want. So go ahead and click that link down in the description to join the channel, and we look forward to seeing you there. Alright, moving on. In actual history, the Ushabti is a funerary figurine used in ancient Egypt. They were placed inside the tombs of the dead and were meant to act as servants should the deceased be called upon in the afterlife. This is where the journal entry for this item in-game comes from. In Spelunky 2, the Ushabti is a large, idol-like figurine, roughly the size of the player, that can be found in a background cave called the Hall of Ushabti on floor 6-2 in Neo-Babylon. Upon entering this background cave, the player will find themselves in a large room completely surrounded by dozens of Ushabti, all with different appearances. A few things to quickly note about this room is that in addition to all the Ushabti, it will also always spawn with a 4-leaf clover, readily accessible to the player in order to give them more time to explore before having to deal with the ghost. Money in the form of gold, gems, and scarabs is also very common here, and the player can even find items such as ropes and bombs and other things from crates. This background cave can still be dangerous, however, as some monsters may still spawn in here, and there is an ever-present risk of being instantly crushed by elevators if you aren't careful while moving around. The main and most important purpose of the Ushabti is to hatch the mount called Qilin, which is an extremely mobile and useful mount that can fly infinitely, typically used to reach the sunken city high above the first final boss, Tiamat. Granted, there are several skips that people have discovered for getting to the sunken city without Qilin, but we won't be covering that in this video. Before I discuss how to use the Ushabti to hatch Qilin, I first want to talk about the other, more generic uses for the item. Just like a golden idol, the simplest use for the Ushabti by far is as a simple weapon. Any Ushabti from the Hall of Ushabti can be picked up by the player, carried around, and then thrown at enemies or destructible things like pots and crates. The Ushabti is pretty durable, and just like the golden idol, it will not break from being thrown or whipped or hit by other objects. It can, however, be crushed and destroyed by most things that destroy blocks, so be careful not to get your Ushabti destroyed if it's the one that's going to hatch into Qilin. Beyond using the item as a weapon, the Ushabti can also be sacrificed at a Kali altar for varying results. I talk about this briefly in my Kali sacrifice altar guide video that you should definitely go check out if you haven't already, but now I'm going to go into a bit more detail. The reward that you get from sacrificing the Ushabti depends on the amount of favor that you already have accumulated with Kali when you sacrifice it. If you've been particularly destructive with altars in the past and have a negative favor score, sacrificing an Ushabti will spawn a vampire in its place. If your favor with Kali is anywhere from 0 to 7 points when you sacrifice the Ushabti, you will get a living caveman as a reward. Favor values from 8 to 15 will produce a living turkey, favor from 16 to 31 will produce a living hired hand, and finally, having 32 or more favor when sacrificing the Ushabti will reward the player with a hired hand wielding a shotgun. It's extremely important to note, however, that every time an Ushabti is sacrificed, the player's favor will be cut in half, rounded up. If the player's favor is negative, sacrificing the Ushabti will have no positive or negative effect on their favor. This means that the player cannot use Ushabtis to gain an infinite amount of favor by sacrificing the cavemen, hired hands, turkeys, or vampires that spawn. Now for the part you've all been waiting for. As I mentioned before, the main use for the Ushabti is to get the Qilin mount. The first step towards hatching the Qilin is to acquire the Tablet of Destiny item by killing either Osiris or Kingu. Osiris is the mini-boss that can be found at the very top of the special Duat location if the player chose the Temple of Anubis and City of Gold path. While Kingu is the mini-boss located in the special Abzu area if the player chose the Tidal Pool path instead. Once either of those two mini-bosses is killed, they will drop the Tablet of Destiny and the player can proceed to the Ice Caves. Once the player has cleared the Ice Caves and makes it to the Hall of Ushabti in a background layer of floor 6-2 in Neo-Babylon, they can open up their journal and scroll over to the Tablet of Destiny. The journal entry description for the tablet will describe which Ushabti the player needs to find in order to hatch Qilin. It's important to note that the journal entry for the Tablet of Destiny changes on every playthrough, which is why the player must always read it in order to know which is the correct Ushabti. Once the player has located the correct Ushabti, they will have to carry it safely to the next floor, where it will finally automatically hatch into Qilin. The last thing I want to talk about is all the different varieties of Ushabti that there can be, and how to know which Ushabti the Tablet of Destiny is describing. I will be showing close-up, in-game photos of each variation as I discuss them, so you can see for reference. There are 3 different categories of variations that every Ushabti falls under. The first category is an adjective, and it can be any one of these 4. Tall, smiling, cracked, or simple. They are pretty self-explanatory. A tall Ushabti is simply taller than all the other regular-sized Ushabtis. A smiling Ushabti has a very large smile instead of the typical small, kind of just regular straight mouth. A cracked Ushabti will have a very distinct and noticeable crack running through it that the other Ushabti will not. And finally, a simple Ushabti just means it will not be any of the other 3. No smile, no crack, and it won't be tall. The second category of variations for the Ushabti is its material. The tablet entry will tell you what material the Ushabti is made from, and that will correspond to the color of the Ushabti. The 5 materials are clay, gold, jade, onyx, and wood. From what I've seen, this is the category that stumps the most people, so I'll make it very simple. The clay Ushabti is the white color seen on screen. Gold is obviously the yellow/gold colored Ushabti. Jade is the emerald green colored Ushabti. Onyx is the black. And lastly, the wooden Ushabti is the brown colored one. The mistake that I see the most often is people mixing up the wooden and clay Ushabtis, since white is honestly a strange color to make clay. It doesn't make sense to me either, but you're just gonna have to trust me and be very careful to pick up the brown Ushabti if the material is wood, and pick up the white Ushabti if the material is clay. The final category of variations is the symbol that can be seen on the belly of the Ushabti. Once again, there are 5 variations, and these are also all very self-explanatory. The symbols are as follows: a snake, the Ankh, an eye, a bat, and a vortex. Here's the complete graphic for your reference that combines all the variations into one table so that you can look here and don't have to keep rewinding the video. Now that I've covered all the different types of Ushabti that there can be, hopefully we can all feel safe and assured that Qilin will always hatch. Thanks for watching, everybody. That was my complete guide on the Ushabti item and hatching Qilin successfully every time. If you found the video helpful and informative, please hit that like button, and don't forget to share with other people who might be looking for the same information. I'm going to be releasing many Spelunky videos breaking down as many important and useful topics as I can think of. So if you find my content enjoyable and informative, be sure to subscribe. Alright, see everybody later. Bye-bye.